Howdy. Man, after this last Halloween that just went by, I got to thinking, man, about how paganistic and neo-feudal of a society we actually live in. It's like, even, you look, like out here in the city, okay? It's like you can put your wood and your leaves out to the road, and the city comes and takes it, but they just don't take it to the dump. They take it to a place where it's like, used for like mulch. And so in a way, you're living on you're paying rent to stay on a kind of a crop producing environment anyway. It's like, it's like, basically back in the day, you had to pay Rome tribute for the roads, for your utilities, for the aqueducts, and protection from the communists, the barbarians, or the terrorists, the savages. It's the same ploy, and they were definitely a feudalistic type of place where they would, like, when they take your lands, well, they're taking a piece of your crops. That's kind of what feudalism is. A king or an emperor or an oligarchy claims ownership over all the territory. This is communism as well. The communism, fascism, the corporations are the head of state, and in communism, it's the government's the head of state. And listen, any stealing of anything is stealing from the government, because the government owns all property, including the slaves, us, and our intellectual property. So, it seems as if it's right, but it's not, because no one actually owns anything. And it's like, if you study the roots of Holloween, it comes from not neopagan, it comes from an original pagan, like straight up super pagan type of backdrop, dude. Basically it's the mafia too, because look what it was. Okay, in the Bible, in the book of Samuel, it says that Levi's sons were basically, because part of the tithe was you tithe meat, you tithe wine, and basically at the time these priests were pimping the system, and they were like, hey, if you want to eat good and drink good, come sleep in my tent, to the women. And they were using their position of authority and power to have sex with women. And they were punished for it, and they basically died. They died under weird circumstances. So neo-feudal pagan Halloween, this was kind of like, basically, you had to, because it was around harvest time, basically the peasantry would make these costumes, and they'd go around kind of like the purge. And if somebody wasn't on deck, wasn't playing along, wasn't trick-or-treating, they would play a trick on them. They would like Charles Manson, they would go do a creepy crawl and move around all your furniture or vandalize your house. There's Devil's Night, the night before Halloween. They burn shit down. They vandalize shit. The police are everywhere, like, just creeping and crawling. It's very oppressive and weird, and it's just weird that this is so normalized. But it's totally, since it was a feudal society, there was crops, but basically, during that time, the king would come in, or the authority would come in and take 90% of your crops, leave you with just enough to survive the cold, dark winter, and get started again in the spring. You'd have to also save your own seed, because if you're not producing, they just kick you off the lands, and they got all these peasants, and they'll just give a peasant a plot and basically make him a house Negro, like house Negroes and field Negro outpost, kind of a setup, kind of a labor, because listen, agriculture is such a laborious endeavor. From season to season, you must tend to the crops. So during, look, if there was a drought, you pay me, like in the Goodfellas, okay? This stuff is all the same thing. So it'd be like they started praying to spirits like the sky spirit, or like the spirit of the wild, the spirit of nature, the spirit of the storms to bring rain. They would sacrifice people, kill people, commit cannibalism, and have other kind of like sexual orgies, like weird, crazy like stuff, dude. Like witches sticking broomsticks up their vag with nightshade on it so they can contact the spirits. I mean, this is some crazy, arcane, archaic, medieval, primeval weirdness, okay? And we practice it here. I mean, it's kind of like it hasn't changed as much as we would think, okay? It's kind of like, okay, just like with the tithe to the priest, in a way, you got to tithe to the riffraff, like the mafia, the mob, the bunch of like children, orphans who are starving, and this was their, like they say, oh, the spirits ate your offering of food. No, it was just the conners who started and perpetuate this custom are exploiting it. They're coming through, taking all the apples, the corn, the bread, the flour, milk, these essential nutrients. See, but in that feudal society, you're on your freaking own. So look, it's either join the mob or join the bad guys or freaking starve. You just don't really have much of a freaking choice. They just basically like, go ahead, jump off a cliff and die, you useless eater. So they started to, it would seem the spirits are cursed, but really there's just vandalism going on. And these people would, look, possession comes from the Greek term of the actors who wear the masks. And literally, I've already made videos about being possessed by the mask or the uniform, the role you're playing, the persona, the caricature you're playing, okay? But this custom of leaving food out for the spirits is really common. I mean, the Native Americans would leave out dishes during sacred times to the fairies or the gnome people. But for probably what I'm thinking is, it's like, look, that's exploitation of people's superstition. A person with no faith or no belief in superstition could just go take those offerings, and it would seem the little people took the offerings. But I do believe in fairies, gnomes, and little people. But I also do believe these superstitions are used to scare people, like the boogeyman. You better stay in the house. It's Halloween. The boogeyman's coming. You can conjure the spirits, like all this kind of mystic hype and scaremongering. Okay, and also the Asians, from my understanding, also their little altars that they make to they basically worship their ancestors. So they'll have a picture of like their kung fu master. And they leave incense, they put water up there, they put rice up there, and it's kind of a similar tone to this. And it's also like, in a small kind of way, the whole custom of burial has, like, look, why would you bury a person with all their gold on? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I believe this custom was started by the funeral homes, and they would bury you up and take all the goods that are left in your tomb with you. But this goes all the way back to Egypt. So you're taking food that could feed the poor, and you're giving it to ghosts and basically to pagan demons. It's not even like, I mean, you're supposed to give a tithe in the biblical narrative too, but it was to God, not to just your ancestors, it wasn't idolizing man, turning man into an idol, because they're giving your dead ancestors worship like they're a god. It's the same thing with the little people and the gnomes. You're leaving out food for these things, and you're giving them some kind of veneration and worship. To bend down and lean down and put the food down you're in worship position, in the bowing position. I mean, it's the same thing with frickin' Christmas, man. I mean, it's in the book of Jeremiah that they take a tree, an evergreen tree out of the woods, and deck it with silver and gold and fasten it with nails so it doesn't move. It's an idol. It's basically a hairy penis. I mean, it's a phallus. And basically, Christmas, and look, Santa is Satan. It's Odin. You know what I'm saying? Odin is Zeus. Zeus, Satan, Odin. It's all the same freaking character or archetype, but just by different cultures' names. For my humble freaking opinion. But it's not my humble opinion that it was extremely paganistic, dude. It's like, look, what they did, like I figured this out. The worship of the bull goes back to Egypt. They also did it in the Mithra religion and in the Zeus cult. Zeus was a bull. Look, it makes sense to me because what comes out of cow shit? Mushrooms. It was a trip cult. That's how they conjured the spirits, man. They freaking would eat magic mushrooms and they would have a mystical freaking experience. So look, you started your sacred cow freaking religions. Like I heard this one Hindu guy in this book and he said he was meditating in a field next to the holy cow. And one day freaking the cow freaking started charging him while he was sitting there meditating. And then he said he gave up that custom of worshiping the cows. I mean, it's a very interesting, great story. But the mushrooms, there's these adamantia fly algic, some adamantia freaking mushroom. They're called reindeer mushrooms. And I mean, this is another custom that goes across different cultures where, look, the Vikings used to do it too, where they would eat these different mushrooms, magic mushrooms, to gain almost like superhuman, human-like abilities in battle. Okay, but the whole mythology of a fat guy coming down the chimney, flying on reindeers. And I mean, it also goes back to Nimrod. Nimrod is also Santa. I mean, it's like the elves. Look, just like the Indians leaving out food for the little people. And then look, really the priest class probably goes and takes their offerings, just like any gold or silver. Like Judas, he's counting the money bag. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's like, look, it's all the same con, just through different times, eras, different cultures, man, with slightly retellings of the same stories. But look, you can look this up. Really, the reason why they seen elves and gnomes and satyr, Krampus, which basically looks like a satyr to me, they would see these things because they were hallucinating on the magic mushrooms. I mean, and Huxley was trying to say in his Brave New World, they were going to give people a drug that would make them happy with their frickin' servitude. But this has already been done in the past. It's nothing new. It's a neopagan, neofeudal retelling of the same con job to keep people kind of frickin' pacified and contributing kind of tribute psychic energy to the in-crowd ritual, which you look, and you're giving away, once again, you're giving away your food. That's diminishing your money, because back in the day, in feudal times, food was money. So was people, because you're sacrificing people. People are money. They're worth more alive and working and contributing to overall survival than they are dead. But look, these messed up, flip-flop, crazy customs, man, get normalized, and the evil seems to be good, and good seems to be evil. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's super interesting, like how out in the open, occultic, the straight up evil, demonic, satanic, ancient, just from the darkness of the old ignorance of straight up anti-intellectual type of an era. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, look, they're trying to de-industrialize the planet, dude. So they're going to put us back under a kind of a feudal system where we're going to be sharecropping again. And they're basically going to make the whole world a plantation, a reservation, or a concentration. And, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and, I don't know. That's kind of how I see it.